Okay, welcome back, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. It is Wednesday, April 23rd. We're just going to spend a few minutes here just trying to tie up some loose ends. So we decided to put on hold H 349, the security board, and then Connor and Kevin, you're going to talk to Wanda and Steve.
I spoke to Steve and he's receptive to sitting down with the three of us.
And Wanda may be in the building or send a, connect with her and see. Another bill that we kind of are working on and not sure about is H 176, which deals with the work crew program. So James, I know you've done some work. Who do we have? We have you and
Brian, Kevin, and Sean.
the four of you.
And then we have three in the other room, the
Judiciary.
judiciary, and then we have a member from appropriations, and we're meeting with the commission next
Who from
week.
approps?
Trevor.
Trevor?
And we will be meeting with the commission next week and having a conversation with him and our counterparts in the other committee,
And what day is that?
the 29th. 1 p.m.
And where?
I told you already.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Room 10.
Room 10.
So then another bill that we've been working on is 294, which is the commissary and telephone use. So where are we on this? We've taken some testimony. I'm just trying to get my head around it, where we are.
Joe has a question for us.
Well, regarding the commissary fees, based on the testimony provided, I think it would be useful to actually see the flow of the commission money and how that's being spent and who gets input and how it's spent.
You talking about the money goes to the rec?
Yes, I mean,
I agree.
does the money actually all go to the rec, and is there input from those who use those facilities? What are those facilities?
Do the inmates really want it doing that, or would they rather have the lower prices?
We want both.
I think that's an inappropriate choice.
Yeah.
Well, frankly, the
Why? If the
pricing doesn't
majority of
look-
them don't want to be paying the premium, why is it an inappropriate choice?
I don't think we should be saying. you
One
can
or the
ask
other.
all Only if you pay into the profits of Keith. That's what I think it's a nasty conflict of interest.
No, I'm saying well, maybe saying the opposite. I'm saying.
The state should pay for recreation. And well-being, that's what I'm saying.
And the commissary should have no bearing on
Right.
price.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The commissary prices should not have a premium on top to pay for their recreation.
But they should still have recreation. Add
Yes.
that clause.
That's a different subject.
Exactly there, come on.
I'd like to hear from the commissary.
But is, is the reality of the diversion of those
I
monies?
don't know if you can get, was it keep or
We're not
okay?
gonna get Keith.
You're not gonna get keep in. You could get, I don't think you would. I doubt it.
I would talk to DOC about what are, and we.
We gotta
we got a
look at the
small
contract.
Amount of this, who else is available?
Yeah.
Like, what are
They
your,
only had Keith.
Seems like we want
We
to.
asked that question. They only had one quote.
Yeah, but we gotta schedule testimony
Yeah.
for this. That's what I'm trying, we wanna keep working on it. Who do we get in here for testimony?
Well, DLC knows what they're collecting, right? There's a path of that money. Keith isn't paying them in cash.
So we need to look at the contract that DOC has with Keith.
and testimony on, is there anything preventing DOC, the state, from doing an in-house commissary? I think there might be statutes in the way that of that happening.
And who did this? It was Ben.
Yeah.
And he's using this week.
Well, I had John Gray he did this.
No, he didn't. Did he?
I wrote it that he was
294, yeah,
talking
it
to
is,
us on
John.
410.
Oh, John, yeah.
Thank God.
So John is the one that would need to see if there's any statutes that prevent in-house.
Yeah,
And you start looking at.
I'm just saying, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, you start thinking about whether or not it'd be more affordable. If they're buying it, they might not get a group or a bulk rate. There could be, it could be buying from the same spot.
Yeah.
The prices that were listed the other day are not that.
No rhyme or reason. Well, check what I sent via email.
Hmm.
It's 200% markup down to 2.5% markup. I couldn't figure out any rhyme or reason.
Yeah,
I didn't do a huge dive, but I did sort of,
okay,
what can I easily find on Amazon?
gotcha.
What seemed to be the higher?
That's what, so ramen was high. T-shirts, I think, were fairly high.
Ramen is pretty cheap.
And like M&Ms were low.
Wasn't ramen 85 cents?
The markup bill was high. Based on what you could do buying it in bulk.
But the way the contract is written is consistent with local convenience stores. Right? But then the commission number, which they finally disclosed, does not appear in the contract at all.
It's 32%.
Yeah, that's what the testimony was, but if you can read that contract all you want, it's not there. It speaks to a commission, but not to the percentage.
I'm trying to figure out what to bring in for testimony, folks.
I
So,
would, can we do lived experience? Somebody who's
yeah,
been in the facility,
yeah,
Jason,
would it be Jason? He could also talk to us in MOUD.
you could definitely talk well on him if you do.
It's Jason's last name, do you know?
Starts with a B. I'll find it. I don't know if I put it in. I have a card somewhere. I don't know where it is.
Incarcerated.
Just thinking, and I focused on you, sorry.
What's that?
He lives nearby.
The deputy commissioner's testimony was not completed.
No,
We got to the point
wait,
to talking about work, I think, inside the facility, and someone said, oh, that's gonna take a long
it's gonna
time.
take time, right? I was just going through this. So how do we want to approach? We got commissary, we've got telephone, and we got the work programs. So for commissary, what I've got right now is that for testimony, we would want from DOC to see that contract that DOC has with Keith. Should it be in-house that we pay for commissary?
Mhm.
And what is the flow of the commissary dollars to the rec program and others?
Mhm.
That's what I've got right now, and maybe Jason with, when he was incarcerated, what was going on with commissary. The other question I had was, what is their profit margin or the overhead costs for commissary?
Mhm.
Maybe a list of the current items, just so it, in the cost of current items, so it gives us a feel. What else have I got?
Those all seem to be things that only O'Keefe can really answer.
Yeah, I'm coming there too. Like, why are we trying to find out from DOC about the contract when we could go to the provider?
Because we might not be right, Keith.
Yeah.
So chances are they're not gonna come in. We can try.
I would think Keefe would want to be in here rather than not be in here, since it's their business. Their sales guy should be in here.
Sure. I agree.
We can try.
Well, I'm just, yeah, you might be right, but
I think
if they're not willing to come in here, then we got a real problem.
We can try. We can get the contact.
Enormously helpful if he can see, if one of those, he or she, whoever that is, or they.
Okay, we'll see. We'll try to get the contact. information. What else in terms of commissary? Do you want
Photographs.
photos of how it looks?
Yeah. I thought we were gonna get that.
Yeah,
That was one of the things, like, I would love to see a little video. Here's commissary.
And do we have any idea what percentage of the inmates actually use the commissary? Are we assuming everybody does? And
I would
Depends if they can afford it.
suspect most do.
I assume some are broke.
I was gonna say, I'll bet you it's not, not equal.
No. Well, depending on what kind of support you have on the outside world.
I'm sure there's a lot of factors, but
Right.
if only a third of the people use the commissary, it's probably not true. That's one answer. If 98% do, that's a totally different answer.
so that gives us some broad conversations with DOC about commissary. Do you also want to get into the telephone thing?
I mean, that seems like the biggest,
Let's
that seems like biggest benefit and biggest possible cost, doesn't it? I mean,
putting it out, just trying to figure out our.
that seems huge.
Did send you all an email about some, and one of them is peer reviewed study on the impact of more access to circles of support through phone calls. has on recidivism, has on mental health.
And then do we want to get into the work program? To finish up that testimony,
Willing to talk about minimum wage.
just trying to figure out what people want to do here, because we're not going to get the bill out this year. That's for sure.
I mean, in my mind, I'm trying to rank impact and the likelihood of doing anything with it. And to me, it goes communications, commissary, work. But you can certainly disagree with me.
I'm looking at the time, and I know some people have. Do we have Jen at 2, Bill?
Yes.
We do, okay. And tomorrow we're wide open, right? But for the most part. Yeah. See, I would check, let Phil and I work and see what we could get DOC in at all tomorrow to talk about, at least commissary. Does that make sense? If we can get them?
Yep.
And the phones, yesterday, I think I heard that there's no programming, I think that was the right term, until 18 months before release.
Mhm.
So I'd like to know what the use of the phone is prior to that, other than staying in touch with family. I can understand that being important.
And lawyers. They'll be in touch with their legal counsel.
They legally have to have that, right? They provide that,
Mhm,
yeah, but, so the lawyers is already given.
mhm.
So
But they're
if you're-
contacting family, they're keeping in contact with their family, basically.
I understand that, but what else is there? Because if they're not getting programming through their phones until 18 months before release, I guess I need to know what else they're gonna use it for.
Well, the phone in the old days was a wall phone. They don't have cell phones.
Right.
And I don't know if they can do this through tablets, phone calls through tablets. In the old day, it was a wall phone that they would go in the common area for phones. So I'm not sure if it's all through tablets now or what. So let me work with Phil. We can work with DOC, see what DOC can come in, at least talk on commissary. Then maybe do, if we can, a deeper dive on phones, telephone usage, how it operates. That makes sense?
Yep.
And put the work program off a little bit, try to get the commissary and the phones. So we're on the floor at 1, and then after the floor, we'll come back. We have Jen at 2. And then Eric maybe at 3. And then we have Katie to come back on the page 32 at 3:30. Okay. And we're also gonna talk about trying to get a trip up to the dome at some point
What are we doing at 1 again?
on the floor.
Oh, we're on the floor at once.
John and I are at 1:45.
Well, we're on the floor at 1
Yeah.
o'clock on Wednesday and
I'm
Thursday.
sorry, I didn't know. You acted like we were doing something else at 1. Now,